Life actually wants to give you everything that you desire, and there's always something higher that is guiding you.
Welcome to Winning the Divine Lottery. I'm your host, Amy Dons.
I'm really excited for today's talk. I really asked myself today, like, what does life want to podcast through me? As you guys know, I don't really plan these. Sometimes I get an intuitive nudge and I follow that. And I really simply asked my heart today, like, what wants to be podcasted through me? And what I was shown was actually when I was a teenager, I had pictures of Carmen Electra on my wall. I thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world. I wish I could look like her. And fast forward into my late 20s, when she first came out with Carmen Electra Striptease Aerobics, is when I got to experience that. I got to experience feeling beautiful in my skin for the very first time. And the reason I'm sharing this is because whether you are consciously creating your life or not, this higher version of yourself, the higher self, your higher power, God, the universe, is always guiding you and loves you so incredibly much. It wants to give you everything that you desire in your heart. And when you can let go of when it's going to happen, of how it's going to happen, and what that's going to look like, you are going to be delighted and surprised beyond your wild imagination. So I always use examples from my own life because they are really good to share, to show you exactly what happened. So as a teenager, I was overweight. I had a low sense of self-esteem and self-worth. And I thought being beautiful because I always watched Miss America pageants with my father. I thought I had to look a certain way. I had to be a certain body type. I had to have a certain amount of talent. And I had to have that like combination of that perfect package to be on the stage where I would be loved and adored and accepted. And I know my dad meant his best when he sat and watched these shows with me, and he's like, I can see you up there on the stage, Amy. But I wanted to be up there to prove to him that I was that beautiful and that I was that talented and that I could be that adored and loved. And so when I saw Carmen Electra as a teenager, she resembled that for me, that full package, right? And never could I have expected when I was 16 years old in Weight Watchers trying to, prove that I was enough and that I was worthy enough, that when I was in my late 20s, that Carmen Electra was going to come out with striptease aerobics dance DVDs. And I still never forget this day when I think I bought two of her DVDs, and my ex-husband at the time was away at work. And I put it in within the first 5 minutes of moving my body that way. I was bawling my eyes out. And it's because I never felt what I was feeling in my body. I never felt this sensuality. I never felt like it was safe to be a woman. I never felt the expression of that in my body as like, wow, it was so powerful that I just released tears. And at the time, I didn't really understand what I was experiencing. But later on, I did. I understood that this part of me, this suppressed part of me that didn't feel worthy, that didn't feel loved, that didn't feel beautiful enough for such a long part of my life, was leashed into this experience of, wait a second, I can feel this now. I can feel this power of my inner divine feminine, my inner sexuality, my inner sensuality rise to the surface. And so this is just such a potent example. And what expanded from my experience then was actually this journey of weight loss and becoming very, very healthy in my life. And it wasn't because I set out to do that. It was like a natural and organic unfolding of the process of what was happening in my life at the time. And so, what I want to share with you is whether you are deliberately and consciously creating your life right now, which I am all about. I talk about this being when we wake up and we have the awareness that we actually get to consciously create and we can collapse time. We can draw in from the quantum field and really get intentional about what we want to create in our life. But when we're unconsciously doing it, is when we get both what we want and also what we don't want. And if you look back at your life, I just want to take inventory for just a second. And I want you to think about all the things that you did end up experiencing before you consciously created your life. That was really good. That was like, wow, I love that experience. And to show you that life really truly has your heart in its hands. Like it wants you to experience everything that you desire within your heart. You wouldn't even have visions. You wouldn't even have ideas of what you want to create in your life if you didn't have the capacity and the space to be able to receive that. And so this is a really important conversation to have that when we step into consciously creating our life and we have these desires, we can actually pull from when we were unconsciously creating in our life and pull pieces of that into our experience because when we are unconscious of what we're creating, we often have less resistance. We don't have an expectation of an outcome. And so, if we can take those two things and implement them into the conscious creation process of less resistance. So, here's the thing when we're consciously creating something and we really, really, really want it, we often have way more resistance to receiving it. And so, how can we get into that space of having less resistance? Well, number one is looking at your life and being like, I know that anything I ask for and anything I want, I can have. And I know that life loves me enough that it will bring it to me. And I have enough evidence of this. So, if that is true, then I can relax. I can trust that it's going to happen in the right timing, in the right way, in the right form. Like the how is just going to naturally, organically unfold. It doesn't have to unfold through force and will. And very often, if it does come through force and will, we do not enjoy the outcome and the experience because we had to effort, we had to push, we had to make our way through something and then we have that experience and it's known. It's known because we knew exactly how it was going to happen. It's the unknown. It's the mystical that surprises us and delights us and can go beyond our egoic self, our egoic construct of how something can show up in our life and how it has to be. So things that will create resistance in your life is number one, trying to control the how, trying to control the outcome, the process, the unfolding of it. And that's not our job. That is just not our job. So that number one will throw resistance on your path. Having an expectation of the time that it's going to take right away you're limiting yourself. You're limiting yourself to a linear timeline and you're creating urgency in your life. That is going to create resistance on your path. The third thing is having an identity of the thing that you want to experience. Like you're attached to it. Like if you don't have that thing, without it, you experience something of lack, something that you don't believe that you have right now. That will put resistance on your path. Another thing that will put resistance on your path is self-doubt and worrying. Worrying is like, if you ever heard imagination in reverse, worrying puts resistance on your path, and often slows down the process. Not only does it slow down the process, but it makes it way less enjoyable. So stop worrying. If it's true that you can have everything that you want, why would you worry about when it would come? Or how it would come, or how long you'd have to wait. Like, don't worry about it because in the meantime, life is going to bring you more experiences and more growth and more opportunities. So just like let go of the worry. I read this book once and it says if you are a worrier, to start setting a timeline, like literally take your phone out and set 15 minutes and allow yourself to worry and make a commitment for the rest of the day that you're not going to worry. I mean, imagine that. Like, how much time would that free up in your day? And if you don't think that you worry, test that out. I bet you it's going to show you how much you worry. And also, doubt sort of gets in the way of growth. Doubt is very egoic. It's basically saying, I want this thing, I believe in this thing, but I don't believe it's going to happen. I don't believe I'm worthy. I don't believe I deserve it. And you just like stack up these conditions and these limitations against you. One little trick that I have around self-doubt is anytime we're doubting ourselves, we're pinching ourselves off from growth. And so doubt is actually an opportunity to grow. So you just do the opposite. If you're doubting yourself, imagine how you are growing in this moment. You can actually use an image of something that's newly growing, like something sprouting from within the soil, pushing up through the darkness, like a flower, and then it comes through the surface, it breaks through the surface, and then it grows and blooms. Self-doubt wants to stop you from growing. And everything that you want in life, and I've said this so many times, is for the expansion of you, which is your growth. It's you experiencing something beyond your perceived image of yourself and the world and of life. So the whole purpose of this is to grow and evolve. And self-doubt, it's kind of like it's like throwing a wall on growth and being like, why would I ever limit my growth and my experience of life when life is unlimited? Why would you do that? Just allow yourself to grow. Pick something that reminds you of growth, visualize that, and ask yourself, what is trying to grow through me right now whenever you doubt yourself? Those are the key things that I feel throw resistance on our path because we're trying to control. We have an expectation. We're attached to the outcome because we feel we lack something and we worry and we doubt that it's possible. And even if all that still happens, the whole purpose of life giving you everything that you want is for the enjoyment of it. So if you're not enjoying your life right now, why would you enjoy something new that's coming along? You might for a second, but then you immediately go back into the familiar patterns of like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Because this is never enough. Because I lack something, because I'm not enough. This is an opportunity to really understand that you have everything within you right now. And in fact, anytime anything new comes into your life, you can only experience it now. I had an aha moment in my kitchen a couple of years ago. This idea of how we experience everything now. It was like a light went on, and I was in sweats and a sweatshirt, and I was like, no, it's now. It means I can have that now in this house with my hair this way, in these clothes, with that amount of money in my bank account, with that amount of clients. Do you know what I'm getting at? Like, I just had this light bulb moment of what now really meant. It didn't mean later. It didn't mean if this and this and this falls into place. No, 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 no. If you really, truly understand now, it's now in this moment, this present moment. It's not in the past, it's not in the future. And if you can experience it now, why wouldn't it come to you? Why wouldn't it reveal itself to you? And the more that you can be in the present moment, the more you can experience the nowness of now, the more you don't even need anything new coming into your life, and the more new things are going to come into your life. That's the irony because we lessen resistance, we drop resistance, and it's so incredibly beautiful. If you found this episode valuable, please like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Share it with a friend. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. It just helps. I'm here to help. I'm here to share. I'm here to inspire, and it's all happening right now. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend.